It's 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, the 28th of October, 2025. You're very welcome back to the channel. I have a few new subscribers there, and you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Anyone that wants to give their in their username, maybe their country or something, it'd be nice to know where you are. Now, this is about the EU and its largesses, and the amount of money it's giving to Africa, and also about the trip of President Trump to China coming up soon. Now, it's called Global Gateway, and the EU has given, by a little figure I counted up there, 7.8 billion euros to Africa, awarded for this year. South Africa gets 4.7 billion to aid in this just energy transition, which means windmills. Now, the Irish windmill operator and developer, former Board Namona man, Eddie O'Connor, who passed away about 2 years ago, he got in there and the whole lot fell apart. Nothing worked over there. So what are they going to do with South Africa? They're going to put up windmills. How do they install them? Solar and all of that. We will see. Most likely, if we come back here, those of us still alive in 5 years' time, everything will be just the same. But the thing about the South African situation is that they are members of the BRICS movement, which is a very deliberate effort by the countries away from Europe and America and Canada to get away from dollar hegemony, to get away from the sanctioning and the use of sanctions against countries because they don't like their policies. So in other words, we have Russia being sanctioned now. We have Russian assets in Europe being stolen, possibly up to 140 billion being taken from their owners because they're Russian. And the economic war that may actually trigger is unknown yet. And South Africa is a big player in that. But anyway, they're getting 4.7 billion. Nothing coming to rural Ireland except an odd bit of an allocation from local TDs. What is going to the other countries? Why can, if Europe is so adamant about giving money to Ukraine, why didn't they give the 7.8 billion to Ukraine? It's an urgent need of it, according to them. Well, possibly they're afraid Africa will depart and fly the coop and go. But I notice in the amount of money given out, there's nothing given to the central sub-Saharan African nations, the Sahel nations, Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali. They're ploughing their own furrow. They have told the Europeans, get out and don't come back. And they told Victoria Nuland, get out and don't come back. That's still work in progress. President Traore is getting a bit of a prop up there from the Chinese and the Russians. Now, maybe that's it. They want to sweeten them with this money, but still, it's still our money that's going to out of the EU, and nobody knows why we can't get it, why it can't be spent in the EU itself. That's that. Now, the next thing is they're giving 618 million euros to Kenya, Uganda, Congo, and Mauritius and Nigeria. Now that's Nigeria, that's not Niger, for various projects there. 618 million. Now there's a humanitarian aid allocation of 1.9 billion. That's virtually 2 billion euros. It's certainly $2 billion for 2005 for emergency aid. So we used to be given a penny for the black babies and all of this, but I don't know what this emergency aid is, or where is the emergencies. Africa has a young, growing, vibrant population, and Europe has an aging population. So 1.5 billion being given away. As for drought in South Africa, it's been given away for that. Now the next thing is drought in South Africa. This is in addition to the 7.8 billion going to South Africa. They're given 41 million to alleviate drought in South Africa. This is a country where, up until recently, the white farmers were producing vast amounts of food. They were driven out by the South African government. They say they didn't. Well, if you kill everyone around and kill your wife and kill your son, there's not much left for you, is there? They just pull the plug on law and order and let the locals run riot and take everything. So they're giving them 41 million. 41 million. It's not to encourage them to leave the white farmers alone. No, it's going to stop drought. Isn't that a good one? Drought. Now, also, another middle thread through this is a stable electricity supply. That 41 billion, or some of this, is not exactly said clear in the article I read, is for a stable electricity supply. Now, why do we want a stable electricity supply? The people of Africa lived for thousands of years with no bother at all. They developed, they hunted, they done everything with no electricity. Why is it necessary for warm, hot countries to have electricity on tap? Well, the answer is they get them in with it running on coal, oil and gas, and then they think they can transition. See, transition is in this 4.7 billion given to to South Africa. So they're going to transition then to renewables, and as I told you before, only 20%, even on a good day, can be used, and you can't use it all. I've explained all that, why you can't use renewables and why it's destroyed Europe, destroyed Germany, destroyed Britain, all this. But they're still given for this money, 41 million to Africa, to try and get them to get electricity in. And if they're happy enough and able to burn wood and camel dung and all that sort of stuff and cow dung, and they're creating their crops and they're living there, why not leave them alone? Why do they need electricity? What's wrong with the people in the household doing the washing? Give them DAS and give them Persil washing powder and give them those things and let them wash and let them go on the traditional way. What happier will they be when they get all this electricity, the washing machines, the tumble dryers and the whole thing, all relying on somebody? Clearly some company from Europe will get the installation of this junk, and off we go with the usual thing. In Ireland, we're a colder climate, we're an advanced now I had callers there, so I had to move out of the kitchen. Anyway, I had my breakfast, I had callers, and we can't make a video when people are having a chat, and that's only right. That has to take first. Now, anyway, so that's the situation. In Ireland, we need electricity. We're a semi-industrial economy. Africa is not. I don't really see the sense in what they're doing. But there's one thing for sure. The EU will give away all there is, give it all away. And they're stealing Russian assets while they're giving money to Africa, 7.6 billion. They're stealing 140 billion from Russia and they're giving it to Africa just because they're not flavour of the month. Now, the next thing is Argentina. President Trump gave 40 billion dollars to President Milei of Argentina, and there was an election yesterday or the day before. It was sort of like a midterm election. And Trump called on the Argentinian people to vote for Milei or he wouldn't give the money. Essentially, I don't know why Milei, there's probably videos online, managed to run the whole place into the ground. He was supposed to do all the great things. But anyway, Trump's given him an extra chance. And Argentina is a competitor for US corn and soybean. It's a competitor, and meat too. So here we have the United States giving a competitor of their own farmers huge amounts of money. So anyway, in the election, the people did vote for Milei. So Trump is actually interfering in the election there. Maybe in a good way, but just to let you know that Milei did well and he's keeping on course now. He'll be probably getting some advice. Maybe he will pull Argentina out of the quagmire that it's been in for decades and decades and decades. We'll just see. Anyway, no harm to let you know about it. The next thing is that Trump went to Japan, an old American ally since the Second World War. He's getting on all right there. But the big thing now is the upcoming trip to China. And the trip to China the trip to China is on the overall to wean China from cooperating with Russia, to get China to abandon Russia and in that way to force Putin into a ceasefire and to give back all the land he's taken in Ukraine. That's the bottom line. Now, also, the Chinese have capitalized on the EU green energy transition. They control 90% of the rare earth materials and will for the foreseeable future. So the Chinese saw all these electric cars, windmills, solar panels, and they got ready and they supplied the whole lot, and the Europeans paid for them. But the Europeans can't make their own. And in giving the money to South Africa, the Europeans are, in effect, backing up China economically. Now, the Chinese then said to the Americans, we're giving you no more rare earths because you're going to make missiles and weapons and jet planes and fighter jets. So there's a delegation over there, and Trump is leading it, and they'll be meeting in the next day or two. So the first thing they want the Chinese is to give a bit of a relaxation on the ban on the export of rare earths to the United States. Probably they'll make some progress there of a temporary nature. The next thing is to get China to buy American soybean. Now, on one hand, you have the Americans giving Argentina money to bail them out, and they're soybean producers. On the other hand, you have Trump asking China to buy American soybean. So if China buys American soybean, who's going to buy Argentina soybean, and how is that going to work for Argentina coming out of the quagmire it's in? Just to repeat that again, Trump wants the Chinese to go back buying soybean, to quit buying it. He wants to go back buying American soybean. The alternative supply is from Argentina and other countries, now it has to be said, but Argentina. If China buys a load of soybean from the United States, that's going to reduce the amount it's going to be buying from Argentina, probably. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's the agenda there. Now, there will be a whole lot of peripheral things, and there'll be all good communiques written about it, and Trump has great belief in his own negotiating skills. Well, we'll soon see. Now, China has built oil links to Siberia in Russia. The relationship between Putin and President Xi is better than it's ever been before. America wants to pull them apart. America wants China to dump Russia. And the thing is, China sees that the Europeans are going to steal 140 billion of Russian assets invested in banks in Europe. So how much has it in there? So it has to be careful, because it probably can't pull all its money out straight away. But we know very well the weaponization of the banking system is well underway. And if China, if the EU manages to steal Russia's assets, well then the use of Europe or America for storing such assets or wealth is out the window. And so the Chinese are buying untold amounts of gold. Okay, so they've cornered the market on rare earths, and they've virtually cornered the market on gold and also on technology. So the Dutch government took a factory off China. They had a factory in Holland, and they went in and took it over and put the Chinese out. That has to ring a bell with China. That has to be seen as ring alarm bells as such. So it remains to be seen, will the Chinese dump the Russians? And I believe not a hope in hell. Not a hope in hell. They will not dump the Russians. And Trump is not going to get what he asks. He may paint it up in various ways. He's not going to get it. It would take years for the Americans to develop the rare earths and things that China has. Meanwhile, China and Russia are boring into Africa and getting their influence into Africa. And this may explain some of the money going to Africa from the EU to try and keep them sweet. But this type of begging is shocking. But according to many commentators, and I agree, the Russians and the Chinese and the Indians are sick of America and Europe. So while Europe is the vassal or the 51st state of America, or 52nd if you include Israel, Well, that's a fact. America is the big daddy. But slowly but surely, America is having to share its power with India, China, and Russia. And they don't like it. Remember, Trump is not his own boss entirely. There's money donors and other things involved. He just can't do what he likes. But even if he did, I've always questioned his financial way of thinking. It's very rough and very crude. So that's the story, folks. The first thing is we should be sick of the EU giving our money away, but we're going to get nowhere there. We've had an election of Catherine Connolly, who I presume, and I don't want to speak for her too quick, but I presume she'd give everything away. She'd take our homes, our houses, or put up our taxes to give it to somewhere out in the back of beyond in Africa to some corrupt official. I think that's our policies. We'll see. So it doesn't seem there's any change from Ireland. And meanwhile, as I said, Germany has decommissioned its nuclear power station. So our energy situation is very peculiar. We've lost the whole Russian energy, and how they manage and to buy Trump's energy is another day's work. But the order of the world used to be United States top over everything. Now it's United States with Europe underneath, at its pup, and then Russia, India, and China are pulling away. And President Modi refused to answer the phone to Trump. And even some of the Chinese wouldn't answer the phone. If you want to talk, come over. And Putin will a bit answer the phone. But they're rehearsing the same old mantra. The same old story. Till it's blue in the face. And the decision is made about the Ukraine. Putin's not changing. He's a steady pair of hands. President Xi and the Chinese Communist Party are a steady pair of hands. They're not a full communist party because you can actually become very rich by enterprise in China, provided you know your place. And India is moving out from that. It is unbelievable to see on the YouTube channels, and I'll try and post one or two underneath here, people in India making crankshafts using just mud and clay and sandals on them, no health and safety. The European Union have driven industry out to such a degree in Europe that it has to be imported from China, from backyard foundries with molten steel flowing in all directions. That is the ridiculous nature of the situation we have. How long it can continue for, I'm not sure. Now, sorry, folks, we had two venues for this video. That's basically it. Now you see the way it is. And give everything away and give everything away. We can't get a house in our own country. Just incompetence. All they're able to do is set up the tax system, invite foreign national companies in itself, let the local companies go with massive taxes on fuel, but then a reduced rate of corporation tax. They are not building up. There's no new ones of them coming up. All new industry in Ireland is all green energy, which is a scam, loaded on your electricity bill. And so they keep doing this. And as the basics of your society, the basic industry, the basic steel making, aluminium making, becomes out the window, is gone. Then you see the Indian people, with no technology at all, resorting to making it in the backyard. It is unbelievable stuff. They're making lathes, imagine, in the backyard, digging holes in the ground. So this is the situation we have, and we're trying to give these countries money. I've never known any country that got money to reciprocate by giving EU a say. I think that President Tory has discovered that, and I would suspect some of the money given to Africa is to keep them sweet. Because in a lot of parts of Africa, up until this year, 2025, they had a French franc. The French were getting their gold for cut price. They were getting their nuclear fuel, their uranium, their yellow cake for very little. And your man Tory has tried to stop that, and I'd say there's a panic among them, and Europe would love to be the leader of Africa, and it's panicking. I don't see any money being given by China or Russia, correct me if I'm wrong, or India to Africa. What they're doing is they're going over themselves. They're supervising its expenditure. They're making sure that the thing is done right, that the money goes where it's needed, which is the Europeans are unable to do that, because the minute they move in to build an airport, the brown envelope is out straight away, and the corruption and all takes in, and so it all goes into the pockets of various people, and you get nothing. So the Africans have remarked the Chinese give us airports, and the EU give us lectures. Is that a good enough video in 20 minutes? I hope it's good. I hope you enjoyed it. We go now and get back. It's pretty heat. It's cool out here. Bye bye. Thank you.